Aviation education opportunities for young people abound at St. Louis Downtown Airport. The mission of the Greater St. Louis Air and Space Museum is to foster the spirit of flight in today's youth and future generations through ongoing educational programs and by preserving and displaying historic air and space artifacts. During special times of the year at St. Louis Downtown Airport, the Greater St. Louis Air and Space Museum and the local chapter of the Experimental Aircraft Association team up to encourage children 8 to 17 years old to explore careers in the exciting field of aviation. The Greater St. Louis Air and Space Museum hosts activities for Boy Scouts to earn their merit badges through the programs. Members work with other pilots who donate their time, aircraft, and fuel to share their love of aviation with young people by flying in their planes with the hope that children and teenagers will fall in love with flying or become interested in pursuing an aviation-related vocation. Some of the free flights are part of the Experimental Aircraft Association's Young Eagles program. There are many aviation careers for young people to consider, such as airline pilot, helicopter, cargo or corporate pilots, airport administration, airport maintenance, airport firefighter, flight instructors, law enforcement, medical transport, aircraft repair and refurbishment workers, aircraft painters, cabinet makers and upholsterers, aircraft drafters, air traffic controllers, and many more. The local Experimental Aircraft Association chapter brings unique and vintage aircraft such as the Ford Trimotor and the B-17 to St. Louis Downtown Airport. This gives area residents, plane lovers, and visitors a chance to see these historic planes up close and to buy tickets to ride in them. The local aviation community also joins together each July to support the Fair St. Louis Special Needs Air Show at St. Louis Downtown Airport. The air show is an opportunity for guests who have physical or mental limitations that hinder their enjoyment of the popular air shows on the St. Louis riverfront. Pilots from the St. Louis area and from around the country voluntarily perform for these special guests of all ages and meet them and allow them to see their planes up close. The air show is free for special needs spectators and their families. At St. Louis Downtown Airport, you can also hang out in the same building that Charles Lindbergh did. The Greater St. Louis Air and Space Museum is located in historic Hangar Number 2, which is the 1928 Curtiss Wright Hangar at St. Louis Downtown Airport. Visitors are able to see what aviation was like back in the early days when Lindbergh, Amelia Earhart, and other famous pilots would fly their planes to the airport and spend time in the hangar. You will also find vintage aircraft as well as space program artifacts, flight simulators, and even the cockpit section of a McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom jet. The museum hours vary with the season, so you will want to check their website. Call ahead before visiting. Make a day of it with your family and explore aviation history where Charles Lindbergh hung out by visiting the Greater St. Louis Air and Space Museum, and then grab a burger or steak while watching the planes arrive and take off. St. Louis Downtown Airport, the St. Louis region's front door for business and private aviation.